way to kick off the NFL offseason here on the show. Joining us now, three-time Pro Bowl wide receiver, Emmy Award-winning analyst for NBC Sunday Night Football, the mastermind behind the machine that is Pro Football Focus, Bengals legend Cris Collinsworth, and I hope you're having a happy Monday. No one's puked on you so far.
I don't know who it is that's DMing you there, but they're pretty good. They got some pretty good ones there.
When you need help writing your memoir or your biography,
yeah.
I will connect the two of you.
Yeah.
Cris, how's your off season?
Good. I like everybody else, it's only been 3 weeks since the Super Bowl, right?
Crazy.
God dang, man. So everybody wants to just take a little break, and then I was at the combine for 3 days, going up there, and you try, and it's like, for me, college football season comes in the spring. Does that make any sense? Yeah. Like, I do pro football during the season, and then I do college football. So when I'm watching Ohio State, Michigan, I'm like it just happened, So I'm watching all these tapes as we're going through, and you're getting ready for the draft and free agency and the whole thing. But I always say it's like the first sporting event I watch after the NFL season are the college basketball championships, because you just need a little break, right? You need a little time, because it's 7 days a week. It's nonstop. It's just you doing something all the time, and then finally at some point you go up to my wife. Hi, Holly, how are you? It's nice to meet you. Yes, I remember.
What have you been up to? Yeah. Wait, so I did not know that you were at the combine this entire time. Look at you. Tell me, give me the...
No.
Oh,
well, see, with PFF, so I was there for 3 days, but I wasn't there when the players were working out. They wouldn't let me in anyway. They let special Peter Schrager and those guys go down. But so we just go and we meet with all the teams and we do all that. Yeah.
Amazing. Well, I love that. And I know that we've got lots to talk about, but let's start. We had some breaking news this morning in the wide receiver world. Got to get your thoughts. Mike Evans, back to Tampa, 2-year deal. This is a guy, 10 straight 1,000-yard seasons. Okay, Super Bowl champion. I feel like when we talk about the great wide receivers in the league, it's TYREEK, it's Jefferson, it's DAVANTE Adams. Why doesn't Mike Evans not get brought up more?
It's a really good question. He's not flashy in the traditional sense. Like, so many times when you study for the draft or you study free agency or whatever, you fall in love on the film with quick guys, and people who run 40-yard dashes. But let's think about that. If you're 6'4" and weigh 230 pounds or whatever he weighs, right? First of all, quarterbacks love that because they can actually get the ball to them. But you're not going to look flashy. You're not going to look quick. You're not going to look fast. You're not going to, none of that stuff. But I mean, think of some of the really great receivers in the game. I mean, they're all big, tall guys, right? Like Usain Bolt never led the 100 meters at 40 yards.
Right.
Think about when you've seen him in the Olympics. He never led at 40 yards. So if we were going to judge the fastest man in the world based on the 40-yard dash, you're going to end up with a bunch of guys that are 5'7", 5'8", those kind of smaller guys, because the first 10 yards is where you make up that difference. But what matters most when you go into a football game? When those big beasts, they get rolling, right? When those big long-legged guys, they get running, and now that full stride is in effect. And it doesn't matter how fast you went the first 10 yards. It's a little bitterness, in my soul here with this whole thing.
Clearly.
But, those guys, the ones that become the real superstars, in my mind, are the bigger guys who, when they get to that 30-yard mark, and now it's time, it's, my Jets against your Jets, and that stride length starts making a difference out there. And that's where he's won over the years. It hasn't been flashy and pretty and all that, but that big dog gets rolling, man. And then at the catch point, man, you going to take the ball away from him? I don't think so. Baker Mayfield loves him.
Yeah.
Baker probably gave up some of his salary to keep him.
I asked Baker about it in Super Bowl. I have a feeling Baker, I don't know that Mike Evans signs without Baker coming back. They had a really strong season together, a lot of chemistry. And I know Mike Evans at this point in his career, he does not want to deal with a revolving door of quarterbacks or even a new quarterback. So I have a feeling my bold prediction here is that we'll have news on Baker returning to Tampa Bay here shortly, and maybe a future Hall of Fame situation for Mike Evans, who keeps it going a decade in. Speaking of Hall of Fame worthy guys, Jason Kelce. Did you see this? He posted this morning. He's going to address the media at 1 Eastern to talk about his future. I'm assuming it's a retirement. This guy, here's a guy, 6th round draft pick. He's got to be a Hall of Famer. What do you think?
This means you got your mad scientist thing going.
This is my Mr.
Your
Burns.
conspiracy theory. Could he come back? That's what you're asking me, right? You're not asking me, could he come back? Like, I could see
what do you think?
that this magical run, right, with Taylor Swift and his brother, and I could see this whole thing exploding now into something much bigger, and we're all going to be so excited about. And the NFL is basically paying for the Kelce boys out of Cincinnati, Ohio.
Oh.
Thank you very much. And Cleveland a little bit. They went to college down in Cincinnati. See these guys becoming an even bigger part of the NFL. I hope so. I love Jason. I think he's great.
Do you think there's a chance he's not done?
I mean, how hard would it be to look at the team that he has, right? I mean, what they went 10 out of the first 11, something like that. And then whatever happened to them at the end of the year. I don't know that any of us are ever going to be able to explain what happened. Watch Travis again and win another one. And, this is what always happens at the end of a football season. And they lost a little earlier this year, in like the first round of the playoffs there. So he's had a month and a half, whatever it is, off here. And your body starts to feel okay. And, and you get a couple of people in Philadelphia go, come on, man, you got another run. And we got a good team, and when the season's over, you're like ecstatic. You're physically exhausted. You're done. You want no more part of football. You hate football. And it's like, I just don't want to go to practice anymore. And then a month and a half later, sometimes stuff happens, sometimes you just kind of start to feel it a little bit. Would it stun me if he announced he was coming back? It would not stun me, no.
It would stun me, I think, to make a press conference to announce you're coming back.
That's interesting.
Like, that's kind of a lot. I feel like you're doing that to call it. And if he does call it, I mean, is he the best center of all time?
All right, I'm going to brag on PFF just a little bit here. And I don't do this very often, but
please.
Offensive line is probably the one thing that nobody else studies, right? And we watch every play and every game. We have these guys nailed. And Travis Kelce, obviously the star, but Jason went from, where he was, 5th, 6th round draft pick, something like that.
6th.
But when you start watching every single play, as athletic as Travis is out there on the field, as smart as Travis is finding those little holes and in the coverage, as good as all that is, I'm telling you, Jason is that good at getting to the second level of guys and reaching people and playing on the move. We did the Super Bowl where they beat the Patriots, and I felt like I must have done 15 replays of Jason Kelce in that game, getting downfield to the next level. And I'm like, that has to be the most a center was ever shown in the history of a Super Bowl. So I think he can still play. I certainly do. I've watched enough of their tape this year. I do think he can still play and play at a very high level. But I think, when you get into your mid-30s, people start thinking about all the stuff. That's a lot of hits to the head. But Philadelphia will be a different they'll be a different team if he's not at center. They will be.
I wonder, like, if you're Commissioner Goodell, are you like, you're not retiring? Or are you like, retire and come to NBC, come to Fox,
Yeah,
come to where,
well, if you're asking me if I have any insider information on there, I don't, but
Okay.
he would fit in very nicely at NBC.
Sure.
We interview him almost, those production meetings, all that stuff. We do that almost every time we go to Philadelphia. We get Jason because he can talk about the whole. He's not an offensive lineman that can talk about, offensive lineman and defensive lineman. He can talk about the whole. And so he's going to be really good on television.
Yeah, there'll be a different team. And maybe Jason will be the one to give us the answers to this epic collapse by this Eagles team that had so much talent going into last year. And, of course, now going into this next year, potentially without maybe the best center of all time. You mentioned PFF and the Combine. I'm sure that you have the best guys in the business, best people in the business, getting these numbers, aggregating them, making something of them. But there was numbers that we couldn't get, right? Potential #1 pick, Caleb Williams. He said, nope, no medical testing, no throwing drills. Some people are questioning competitiveness for not participating. Where do you fall on how he's handled this Combine?
I could give 2 cents. I just don't care. I don't care. He's, it's interesting when you're talking about any of these young men now. I mean, forever the NFL was, and you just followed the rules and you just did. We didn't even have free agency when I played. I mean, you were stuck with one team the whole time we were there. Now, Caleb Williams has made $10 million in college football. Now, there may have been other people who made $10 million that we didn't really know about, but he did. This NIL stuff is you're in a business discussion with the guys that are on the top end of the draft now. And I think that Caleb Williams understands his value and understands what he's going to mean to either, I think, the Chicago Bears or the Washington Commanders, wherever he ends up landing here. So, yeah, I don't think he's setting the rules. He's like, why am I going to do a physical for 32 teams? I'm not making it past pick 1. Whoever it is, it's pick 1. So if you're thinking about jumping up to pick 1, I'll do a physical for you. And to some extent, as a former player who used to get really frustrated that you had no say in the matter, in any matter when it came to the NFL, it's kind of interesting now that the playing field is getting leveled just a bit.
It is interesting. A lot of power in the players' hands, which we love to see. Last one for you, Chris. Bengals, got to get into it here. They franchise T. Higgins, who I talked to the Super Bowl, and some think the reason that they tagged him so early in the process is so they could trade him. Cris, do you think they should move him, or should this Cincinnati team go all in this season?
I mean, if we can get Joe Burrow through training camp for once, I mean, it has been, 3 straight years now that he hasn't made it through there. And I thought the Bengals were going to win the Super Bowl this year. I really did. And Joe just could not get himself healthy. But this was the year that the money didn't matter as much, right? That they still had people on the lower end. So now you've got to pay T. Higgins. I tell you, I look at this draft class of wide receivers, and we've already seen Mike Evans get a huge payday. So, we understand T. Higgins with the play that you guys showed in the highlights is one of the most remarkable plays I think I've ever seen, what he was able to do with that one. But there are a lot of big wide receivers that can run in this draft as well. So it'll be really interesting as teams start to shop and compare, which is where we are right now. And do I need a T. Higgins, who is a proven commodity, who's a proven great player in the NFL, or do I need to pay my other superstar players on my respective team and then go draft one of these young receivers? And I think some of the answers are going to be, we're better off having this rookie wage scale wide receiver over here. But there's also a lot of teams sitting right on the brink there where a T. Higgins can put them over the top and put them in the Super Bowl. So we'll just have to see.
We'll have to wait and see. While you were talking, I looked at
know.
It's 48.5 million in space, even after applying the tag.
Yeah. Oh, good.
All right.
You made that. I know when you switched over, you made that.
That's exactly right.
A couple of poor football players get a chance to make a little change on the Kay Adams level. I think
you're damn right, Cris Collinsworth. PFF is amazing. You guys, I mean, that's what the teams are going to look at in making these complicated decisions. All the information available. You guys are crushing the draft coverage, making everybody smarter and more aware of what's going on. All the grades, all the numbers, and all the mocks going on leading up to what's going to happen in Detroit in a couple of weeks. So thank you, Cris, for all that you do and for telling everybody that I make $50 million a year. Thank you.
I was trying to underplay it a little bit. I know you did.
Yeah, of course. I mean, obviously. I would never be on a 2-engine jet from Alabama getting thrown up on, I'll tell you that much. You're the best, Cris.
You should have seen that guy. He set a puking record. You would have loved it. All right. See you, Kay. Love you.
You're the best. Love you. Give my love to the family, to everybody. We'll be back after